Hello, Theodore Shoebat here, giving you guys another message that you will not hear at church. I guarantee that. Muslims in Kenya have butchered Christians in another very recent massacre. According to the report coming from christiannews.net, it says that in a pre-dawn raid on a predominantly Christian area in coastal Kenya, Islamic extremist al-Shabaab rebels killed at least 4 Christians, beheading one of them, area sources said. So they murdered 4 Christians, and one of them was beheaded. In the Kaisari area of Maporomoko village near Pandango, about 25 miles inland from the Indian Ocean town of Lamu, al-Shabaab rebels attacked from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. A wounded survivor at Mepeketoni Sub-County Hospital told Morning News. The victim, a Christian from the Maporomoko Bondeni area, who was shot in his right hand, said that there were 5 or 6 heavily armed assailants who spoke Somali and were dressed in military uniform. They shot 2 Christians to death, hacked and beheaded another, and killed at least one other by setting his house on fire. So they burned one of them alive. I could not understand them, so they shot me in my hand, but I managed to escape while a neighbor who was with me was beheaded by the other attackers, the Christian, whose name was withheld, said from his hospital bed. As I fled for my life, bleeding, I could see 2 houses burning. Those who were attacked are Christians. I am very sure that the attackers were looking for Christians. The beheaded man was identified only as Muawara, a Christian. This is the 3rd time the area has been attacked, and we have lost several Christians, the survivor said. So it's more than 4 Christians. It was 4 Christians who were killed in this specific attack, but because this village has been attacked numerous times prior to this situation, then it's actually more than 4. This is a continual massacre that is made up of multiple attacks. The rebels who are fighting the government and regional forces in Somalia regard the northern coastal area of Kenya as Islamic territory, etc., etc. I mean, there's no point in me reading on anymore because you all know the rest of the story. The Muslims are now saying, yes, we murdered the Christians and we're proud about it and all that. I'm a little bit under the weather right now, so my voice is not that strong today. I got somewhat of a sore throat, and I mean, the signs of a cold is coming, is what I'm trying to say. So forgive me if my voice sounds a little different or it sounds a little weak. Now let's look at the situation here. We have several things to talk about here from this story. One is the fact that Islam is a heresy. And we confuse a lot of times Islam as simply just a death cult. Now, it is a death cult. There's no doubt about that. Any cult that is invasive, that is anti-Christian, is a death cult. Any sect that tries to take Orthodox Christian doctrine and refute it or interpret it away or explain it as though it's something else is a death cult. All those who hate me love death. That's what God tells us in Proverbs. Those who try to find another way to salvation come only to destroy, to kill, and to steal. That's what Jesus Christ tells us in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10. So anything that is anti-Christ is pro-death, and it is anti-life. So it can't be just said, well, Muslims just want to come in here and kill people, and they just want to come and kill. That's all they're in it for. And they just want to kill anybody who's not Muslim, and blah, blah, blah. Those things are true to a point, but the fact is that Islam comes specifically to destroy Christianity. It is an anti-Christian sect. More specifically, it is an anti-Catholic sect. It is an anti-Catholic sect. You have, for example, in the Quran that talks about how Christians worship Mary. What's that about? That's about attacking Catholics. That's about saying, oh, Catholics are idolaters, which is a very Protestant position. You have Islamic beliefs that consider all Christian icons as idols. So crucifixes, statues of Jesus, statues of angels, statues of Mary, paintings of Mary. All these are considered to be idols in the Islamic faith, and this is a position that most Protestants, with the exception of a few other ones like Anglicans, would accept. Uh, so not only is it anti-Christian, it is anti-Catholic, and thus it was founded as a Protestant, a protest against the Catholic Church. It was found. It is a. I think Islam should be considered a pre-Reformation Protestant sect. Uh, Protestants love to praise the pre-Reformation Protestant groups. So, what are the pre-Reformation Protestant groups? Well, you have the Hussites, you have the Lollards, you have the Waldensians, the Cathars, Albigensians. You have several other groups, and they consider these to be pre-Reformation Protestant sects, meaning sects that protested against the Catholic Church before Martin Luther. Well, if we are going to consider these other groups Protestant or pre-Reformation Protestants, then we must also consider the Muslims to be pre-Reformation Protestants. If you look at the pre-Reformation Protestant sects, they denied the Eucharist, a lot of them denied baptism, they denied the salvific value of baptism, they denied the icons, they denied the Eucharist, especially with the case of like the Lollards, with the case of the Hussites, with the Waldensians. A lot of these people they denied Catholic doctrine. And the same Catholic doctrine that they denied is the same Catholic doctrine that Muslims deny. Icons, intercession of saints, the Eucharist, baptism, all these things the Muslims deny. So, like I said, we must consider the Muslims to be pre-Reformation sects. That's why they go out and they kill Christians. They are anti-Christian. Yes, they will kill Protestants, and many Protestants are Christians too. Don't get me wrong; they believe in the Trinity and they believe in the divinity of Christ, and the only thing that makes a Protestant a Christian is if he accepts Catholic doctrine. If you say, "Well, I reject the divinity of Christ," you're not a Christian. If you say, "I accept the divinity of Christ, I believe in the Trinity," then you are a Christian, but you're not a Christian because you are a Protestant. You are a Christian because you follow doctrines that the Catholic Church taught and established. Now, moving on, there's another thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and that is the connection between President Obama and these terrorists who just murdered Christians, Al-Shabaab. In 2013, September 27th of 2013, I wrote a report about the connection between Al-Shabaab and Obama. And this was after the mole massacre that took place in Kenya. Remember the mole massacre took place a few years ago? It was horrific. They took people and they hung them by meat hooks and they put explosives on people. It was horrific. A lot of people died. I think it was like 80-something people died or something. A lot of people died. Dozens of people died. According to one doctor who saw the bloody massacre that took place in the mall, he said that they, meaning the Al-Shabaab terrorists, removed testicles, eyes, ears, nose. They get your hand and sharpen it like a pencil, and then they tell you to write your name with the blood. They drive knives inside a child's body. Actually, if you look at all the bodies, unless those ones that were escaping, fingers are cut by pliers. The noses are ripped by pliers. I mean, it's like something from a horror movie. It's like something from The Silence of the Lambs. These people are absolutely decrepit. I mean, they are reprobate. They are deviants in every sense of the word. And just as a side note, I don't want to get off the subject here, but it goes back. I mean, it goes back to what St. Paul tells us in Romans, that they began to change who God was. They began to believe in a false perspective on God, and then they became homosexuals. They became violent. They became evil. This is exactly what St. Paul is talking about. God gives them up into a reprobate mind, and in this state of reprobateness, they become absolutely absent of all consciousness, of conscience, of morality, of virtue. they become purely evil. Why? Because they don't know who God is. Well, in a way, they do know who God is, but they have a false view of God. And just by having that false view of God, that may be perceived as, oh, it's just a mistake, or it's not their fault, Theodore. They have a wrong view of God. But I think God will overlook that. No, God does not overlook that. They have a false view of God. They have a corrupted view of God. And because of that corrupted view of God, they become slaves of the devil. They become evil. Because to have a corrupt view of God, to subscribe to that corruption, to embrace it, is evil unto itself. God is He is the creator of all the natural laws. And so when you deny Him, then you deny, in a sense, you deny the natural order. You deny the natural order. And when you deny the natural order, then you go against nature and you begin to do things against nature. To deny the creator of nature is to go against nature. That's why people who go against God, you always see them as homosexuals. You see them, they support abortion. They support all sorts of evils because they go against the creator of nature. So when you go against the creator of nature, you go against nature itself. When you deny the creator of nature and the natural order, then you deny the natural order. And that's why you will do things that are the antithesis of the natural laws. You will get involved in homosexuality. You will advocate for homosexuality. You will advocate for murder. You will advocate all things against human life because you are against nature. With that said, back to Obama and his connection. While Al-Shabaab is striving to Islamize Kenya through violence, it is a known fact that the Obama family works effortlessly or tirelessly to gain the same goal through funding and recruitment of African students by bringing them into madrasas in Saudi Arabia. The Obama family in Kenya is very, very bent on Islamizing Kenya. Obama's own cousin has made this very clear. Musa Obama has made this very clear that they are against the Christian missionaries coming into Kenya. They are against any sort of Christianization of Kenya. They want to Islamize Kenya. So the Obama family and Al-Shabaab have the same exact ideology and the same exact wishes and goals for the nation of Kenya, and that is to uproot and destroy Christianity in that land. And the main elder of the Obama family, Malik Obama, president of Barack Obama, works for the government of North Sudan directly under Sirwar Dahab, who is one of Omar al-Bashir's henchmen. Omar al-Bashir is a pro-Sharia Islamist dictator and who also has deep roots with the Muslim Brotherhood, who is ruling North Sudan, which is a Muslim country. And let me give you guys a little history lesson here when it comes to Obama. Obama has been supporting all of these revolutions in the Middle East. He supported the revolution. He still supports the revolution in Syria. He supported the revolution in Egypt. He supported the revolution in Libya. And around the same time that you had the revolution in Egypt, you had an attempt at a revolution in North Sudan. What happened was that you had rebels in North Sudan who wanted to overthrow the Islamist government in North Sudan and make it into a democratic society as opposed to being a Muslim Sharia-based society. And what did Obama do? He contacted the leader of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, who was supporting the revolution against the Islamist government of North Sudan, and he said, you better stop supporting that revolution. Obama supports Islamist, jihadist, terrorist revolutions which lead to the slaughter of Christians. He supports revolutionaries rebels who kill Christians. He supports homosexual pedophiles in Afghanistan, gives them weapons, and the military, under this commander-in-chief, orders its own soldiers that they cannot impede or hinder or stop in any way these Muslim leaders who our government is supporting from sodomizing young boys. This is the American government. So they, and while they support all this evil, homosexuality, Islam, jihadism, anything antichrist, while they support all these antichrist systems, they stop a revolution against Omar al-Bashir, the same Muslim dictator who Obama's freaking brother is working with to advance Sharia and to advance anti-Christian policies and the anti-Christian religion of Islam in North Sudan. And at the same time, his cousin Musa Obama is advocating and advancing the Islamic religion in Kenya and is going against the Christianization of Kenya, which is the same exact ideology of al-Shabaab. Moreover, there is more. There is more than what I am telling you right now. Not only this, Omar al-Bashir is significantly associated with the al-Shabaab terrorists. The same Muslim dictator that Obama's brother is working with to advance Sharia is also a supporter of al-Shabaab. This is a statement from a Middle Eastern media outlet called Al-Rakuba, and we learned this from Al-Rakuba. Philip Okur, who is the official spokesperson for the Southern Sudanese Army, stated to Al-Sharq al-Aswad, stating that the Sudanese government sends logistic support. This is the very government that Obama's family is working with, by the way. The Sudanese government sends logistic support to the Somali al-Shabaab, which is fighting the government in Mogadishu, and the African peacekeeping forces. Khartoum is the capital of North Sudan. Khartoum is still the main center for Al-Qaeda. Khartoum had a main role in recruitment for Shabaab, which carries out terror attacks in Somalia. Sudan's reputation in terrorism is known worldwide. And knowing this, Malik Obama shared a platform with Omar al-Bashir in the 23rd Conference for the Islamic Dawah Organization. What is the Islamic Dawah Organization? It is an organization that is anti-Christian. It is an organization that wants to Islamize all of Africa and also to de-Christianize Africa at the same time. Now, isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that Obama went to Uganda to specifically tell the Ugandan people and the Ugandan government that they must accept homosexuality? Isn't it interesting? Obama goes to Africa, he goes to Egypt, which is a country in the African continent, and he tells the Muslim Brotherhood that we support you. He confronts the leader of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, and this is not something I made up. I didn't just pull this out of my head. I didn't pull it out of my ear. I learned this from the Council of Foreign Relations. And this is straight from the government. Okay, we're not just making this up. This is information that comes from the state. The president, the commander-in-chief, Obama, confronts Salva Kiir for supporting a revolution against the Islamist dictatorship in North Sudan, which is killing Christians and has killed literally millions of people. We're talking over 2 million people here. Right there on the border between South Sudan and North Sudan, the Islamic government of North Sudan has slaughtered over 2 million people because they are not mixed with Arab, because they don't want to conform with the government. They slaughter these people. This is a Holocaust happening right now. and Obama is supporting it because he supports the Muslim government that is doing this. His brother supports the Muslim government that is doing this. His cousin supports the Islamization of all of Africa. And he goes to Uganda. He doesn't go to North Sudan and say, hey, stop slaughtering those people on the North and South Sudanese border. He doesn't go to North Sudan and say, hey, stop persecuting Christians. Stop oppressing Christianity. Stop attacking Christians or attacking churches. No. He goes to Uganda and says that you have to support homosexuality. Isn't it interesting, the connection? The cousin supports the de-Christianization of Africa. The brother supports the de-Christianization of Africa. Uganda supports the Christianization of Africa by going against homosexuality. And Obama tells Uganda, you have to support homosexuality. The whole cursed family is in support for the de-Christianization of Africa, be it with the homosexual agenda and Islam. And that's what we see here. We see the forces at work. Jesus Christ said that two devils cannot fight against each other. A kingdom against itself does not withstand. So we see the forces at work. Obama is working with the homosexual agenda to de-Christianize America and to also de-Christianize Africa. And Obama's family, his brother and his cousin specifically, are working together to Islamize Africa and de-Christianize Africa. At the same time, Obama supports revolutions that Islamize nations. And at the same time, he goes against revolutions that go against the Islamization of Africa, specifically North Sudan. It tells us a lot. It really does. It tells us a lot. It tells us a lot about the U.S. government using homosexuality as an agenda and advancing the homosexual agenda, supporting Islamic revolutions that slaughter Christians. Our government is not for God. And you are only for God or you are for tyranny. There are no other choices. And our government is not for God. It is for tyranny. It is for Satan. It is for death. This is Theodore Shoebat. Hope you guys have enjoyed this message. Hope you guys have learned something from this message. You just heard some theology. God bless and God be with us.